This is your time. This is your place. You're listening to Flashback with Wes Britton on the Artist First Radio Network. Well, hello, everyone. It's time to come back to the James Bond anniversary avalanche. And today we have a very special guest, Thumper. Well, her name is Trina Parks, but Thumper was the role she played back in Diamonds Are Forever, back in 1971. And that will be one of many subjects we talk about today. Who knows what all the things that we're going to talk about today. So hi, Trina. Welcome to Flashback.
Hi. How are you, Wesley?
I'm doing wonderful.
Looking good.
Well, Dr. Sure, same to you.
Rendition.
Well, I mean, start off, I guess you know our mutual friend, Max Vesterhalt.
Oh, yeah.
Who once told me that she was working on a website regarding Bond girls of color and that you were really interested in it, she said. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts on that subject? Do Bond girls of color need more attention?
Yes. That's a big capital Y-E-S. Yes, of course. So many don't even know of all of us, unless they're, James Bond. They think that Halle Berry might be the first, in, most the cases, and so we've got to, show them, that there are five of us, rather, especially, to the Black people, Black culture needs to know more about history, our history, period. That's what, because I'm about history. I'm about, teaching history, I teach, Black dance history. Every time I teach the Dunham class, dance class, I always give the students history on Miss Dunham and a few other choreographers I've worked.
You were the very first one, weren't you?
Yes. First villain, too.
Yeah, that's true. Villain, that's And when you think of Bond girls, you think of those who get seduced, but there are those who beat the snot out of Sean Connery and almost get away with it.
Yes. Had a lot of fun.
That must have been a scene. It took a lot of choreography.
Yeah, it was a lot of staging, and Bob Simmons and I worked very well together. He was just wonderful. Of course, the first time I met him, but he gave me so much open space of doing different things. Of course, he knew where the scene would start and went through to the scene where it ended. But like in the middle of the scene where there's a lot more dance, karate type of things, he wanted to see, what I would do. And he was so nice. He said, "Now, I'm a stunt person, but I'm not a dancer. So let me see what you can do." I said, "Okay, I guess that's why y'all hired me." So, yeah. So what you see, like in the middle section, when Bambi has her legs crossed around Sir Sean's neck, I'm doing flow work, what we call flow work in the dance world. That was all mine.
Oh, so you girls pretty much did the scene yourselves.
Well, on that was a lot more mine, but of course they knew exactly, Bob knew exactly what we would have to do in each section of the scene, and so that's what we worked on. We worked a couple days just like choreographing it, staging it, choreographing.
How was it you came to that role? What was the procedure?
Actually, I had gone to Los Angeles to do the movie Great White Hope, and he was going to choreograph the movie Great White Hope with James Earl Jones, and that was about well, it was released, I believe, in '69. That's what actually brought me to Los Angeles, and I decided, well, I'm going to stay because I like the weather. I never liked the cold weather in New York anyway. So I said, I'm going to stay stay a while. And because I had done several Broadway shows, off Broadway shows as a dancer and as a singer. So I said, I'm going to put an act together. And some dancer friends of mine referred me to this female manager. But when I went, I said, oh, I'm going to put together a jazz Broadway shows and maybe one kind of a classical piece. I did something from Porgy and Bess. Um, Summertime, I loved that was always my audition song. When I did that show at the Ye Little Club in Beverly Hills, which is not there now, but it was very popular back there in the 70s. And the manager, she invited several different agents. One of them was Agency for the Performing Arts. And what was the other one? William Morris also. And actually, they both wanted to sign with me, which is wonderful because I'm a newcomer. But the thing about it, I was really a newcomer as far as the Black actor and a Black dancer, singer. APA, Agency for the Performing Arts, had only one Black actress in, and that was Pam Grier. And so hiring me, signing me, I mean, I was a singer and a dancer, and starting out as an actor. So that booked me all these different shows. That's a lot of TV dance shows and variety shows, which I did. And so, of course, I signed with them. And that was really the catalyst of me getting into being, the interview with the Bond franchise. They were, I guess, about 6 or 7 people from the Bond movies and in town. And Marty Klein, who was my agent at the time, said that they wanted to see me for this role. And he asked me if I knew karate. Well, he knew I danced, of course, but I I learned karate from being in Catherine Dunham's company. And because she taught karate, she taught everything at her school. So that's the karate that I knew. And I said, yeah, I know karate. And he said, because this role they want, a dancer, but they want also someone that could do karate because she has to fight. And she has to fight 007. There was no cell phones or computers you can go and look up some. So all I could get was from him telling me about this actor. And then I was told I had to interview for a screen test because I had to say a few words. So I had the screen test.
Oh, yours, Bambi.
Yeah, oh, Bambi. That's right. And oh, by the way, that finger thing was mine.
Oh, okay.
And I just did it, and they didn't take it out, so I kept doing it every time we shot. And then the last was the dance. They wanted to see me, do some movement, and I knew the character, so I did everything that I felt that the character would do as a dancer, karate person, and so that's how it happened. And they told me I got the role, and I was very glad because I liked the role. But again, I'd never seen a Bond movie. I had no idea the franchise was such a big franchise or anything until after I saw the movie. My movie was the first Bond movie I saw.
Oh, well, that must have been a high. One thing I could never figure out is that when the three of you get kicked into the pool, Sean Connery reaches out and he holds your heads
Mm-hmm.
underwater, and he doesn't let you out until the other guys are there. And I'm trying to figure out, is maybe your heads are
Uh,
underwater. Why couldn't you beat him up under the water?
oh, you're like taking his legs and all.
Yeah, it is belly, his torso. I mean, yeah.
I know. I did. Well, he had us down, our heads down into the water. So, which was of course, I knew that we were going to do that because we rehearsed it and all that. But I didn't realize I would be down there so long. I
Oh,
had no idea that we were going to be as long as they come running in, and then they talk about that, and he says, and I'm under the water, almost drowning. When is they gonna let us up? The first time we actually shot it, oh my gosh! And so when we come up, that is a real shot. That's nothing fake or nothing. I am so glad that I'm out of that water and then back down again. But at least I knew at the second time we weren't down as long. But the first time, whoa, yeah. When we first actually shot the scene. Oh, heck, if it was now, we probably stunt people would probably be under there. We wouldn't be. But back in those days, a lot of actors did a lot more, and we did practically everything. You know, um, it's because of a lot. I guess a lot of the different rules now. Well, since then, maybe some years later, were more strict for principal actors. You know, so but I survived. I
didn't
think
you guys film a scene with Sammy Davis that didn't make it into the final cut?
no, but mine was shot at the Elrod House in Palm Springs. So, but I did know Mr. D because I had worked with him. Um, I danced with him in his live act and the Hollywood Palace. I did a few shows. Yeah,
Oh, so you
but
didn't shoot
which
a film with
that would have
him?
been nice if we had a scene. No. Mm-mm.
Oh, well, I got that story wrong. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, because people, I guess people know that I've danced with him, but I did that. No, that scene, actually, the scene that he did, I don't even. It wasn't in the movie,
No.
but I don't know why it wasn't. Mhm. But yeah, hmm we were 2 different days, different times, different locations. Yeah.
So who all else did you work with during your Vegas days?
Oh, who else? 2 times I was there. I was performing. Well, the first time I performed there was with the comedy duo Davis and Reese um, at the Desert Inn, and so I don't know if you know of them, but they were very popular back then in the early '70s. Well, before that, but that
Was
was.
that
And
Delaries?
we actually, no, Davis, the two male
Oh,
comedians,
oh, oh.
Davis and Reese was the act. hmm Yeah, but I knew Della Reese actually, but I never worked with her. Yeah, I used to go to her church in Los Angeles. She had a church there.
I take it from that point on, you're mostly on stage singing and dancing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't Vegas, but I opened for Muddy Waters at the
Whoa.
what was it at the club in Mr. Kelly's club in Chicago. So that was after I did Vegas, couple because I did the Desert Inn and the Thunderbird. I did my own show. Um, Riviera. I think we were when I was with the comedian and the other gentleman singer because I opened it was the three of us on that bill.
I'm trying to picture you with Muddy Waters. That's just kind of two different sides of show business there.
Yeah, but I did a few, like jazz tunes, and I think I did Summertime. I might have done Summertime, but jazz tunes, Broadway tunes. I did maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Any more movie roles thereafter?
Yeah. Um, what was I did TV, some a lot of TV. I did Hollywood Palace for a few Hollywood Palaces. One with one or two with Mr. D, and I did what was that? Night Gallery. I did with um. See, I should have in front of me the names, but this was Phantom Farmhouse was the episode I did. And let me get the names out. And then I did Dionne Warwick show special. The But all of this, I'm almost finished my autobiography.
I was about to ask, are you working on an autobiography?
So I'm almost finished. I've got probably another month or so. And then, of course, I have to read through it and then give it to the editor. But every single thing I've spoke of and more is in this, because I have, in my lifetime, I've gathered all the interviews or flyers and things, and compiled different books, dance or theater, or just everything. So I have everything that I could not remember at this time. I've been able to fall back on from the things that I have gathered, of course, through my bio. I have a dance chronological, paper with what I've done dance wise from from the 50s up until yesterday, whatever. And then
you're still at it.
I have a separate, yeah, I'm still at it. I've done a couple of shows as a guest, James Bond woman, where I do like 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes well, they would show my scene, and then I'd be introduced, and then I'd sing a few songs. Maybe if it's a smaller group, I'd speak to the audience a bit, and then basically end with Diamonds Are Forever. So I've done a lot of that throughout all different, places in the country.
Usually with Matt Sherman?
Excuse me?
Is that usually with Matt Sherman on his cruises and stuff?
Oh, no, I haven't done that on his cruise. No, this was like different people that were having, shows that wanted to either autograph shows and wanted me to perform at the same, also.
Sure.
Just different private venues.
I'm wondering if Karina Kansas is out there, and if she is, if she'd like to get on the act.
Well, thank you, Wesley. Hello there, Trina. How are you, dear?
Hello there, Karina.
Well, I have a question I think all our listeners are wanting to ask. You had the pleasure of working with the amazing Sean Connery. He is my Bond. I'm young. I'm a young me, but I haven't watched all of them. I'm not a huge fan as some of the people listening to the show now is. But Sean Connery is. He played the role. He was Bond. No matter what other people say, you agree with me on that. And you had the pleasure of working with him. Was he as just have that charisma and
magnetism?
Yeah, magnetism for the females, most definitely.
No, that's I don't think we'll go that far. But as I had mentioned before, I didn't even know anything about him. I didn't know him. Had never seen a movie that he had done. And there was, like I said, no cell phones or computers, laptops at that time. So what we had to do is go to the library and I didn't really have time to do that, but I learned a lot from my agent. He didn't tell me all his movies, but he told me about, the film a little bit. And I didn't actually tell him I didn't know him, but
Of course not.
I was, yeah, but because, as a dancer then too, I'd worked with many different, well-known actors, actresses. So it wasn't anything like, oh, I'm working with Sean Connery. Because first of all, I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. So it was nice to meet him. And he was just he was so wonderful because we were staying at the same hotel in Palm Springs, California. And we received a note that night, the day before, to come the day before we shot, because I got there way before, the day before, to settle in, and to meet him early in the morning before I went to shoot, not to shoot, or to rehearsal, because he wasn't even on the set until probably the second day, maybe third day or so, because he already knew what he was going to do. I didn't know. So I thought that was just wonderful. And I said, oh, Mr. Connery he wasn't Sir yet, but I still call him Sir now.
Yeah.
He, it was so nice to meet me, because he wanted to meet me and talk, just talk to me, have a little tea. I don't drink coffee, but have a tea before, we actually went on the set, because on the set, you just really can't get to know someone that well.
That's
and
so
then
thoughtful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. That was really nice, because that was the only time, really. I mean, we had breaks, of course, that, we, while the different, I think there were like maybe two big cameras at that time. The cameras were huge.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
breaks, now the, cameras are this, laptop size or even smaller. But it took time for them to change the scenes. And they were like, I would say at least 10 different times sets in that whole almost 4-minute scene. There were different, sections. And so that's why it took us about 2 weeks without shooting on the weekend. And then there were a few days of rehearsal, with that. So, so those are the times that we were able to, talk a little bit, and we took pictures, some stills that I had that I used with my autograph shows. He was really great.
Oh,
just,
wonderful.
And
Lovely.
my daughter sent me last year, I had my hand on his neck or side or something, and I'm sitting, I don't even know when I did that, but the still photographer was there every day, just taking pictures all the time. I said, when the heck did I do that? And Sir Sean is just sitting there like, okay.
How lovely. Oh,
yeah. So he was fun. He was
wonderful,
really fun.
wonderful memories to fill up your memoir. I mean,
oh yeah. Yes.
How this is finished? It's coming out soon, or are you still working?
Well, no, it won't be, because I'm just probably next month that might be just finishing it, and then I have to read it through.
Yeah, of course.
Then I give it to the editor. But then the thing about it, with me being over 25, then another maybe. But anyway, I really don't stay on the computer long.
What's the title, Trina, of the memoir? What are you titling it as?
What it is now is they call me Thumper.
They call me something.
Thumper.
They call me Thumper.
Thumper. Ah. Wow.
That was her role in Jam and
like Sidney Poitier saying, they call me Mr. Tibbs, that movie.
So you've done
That
it
made me
like that.
think of
Yeah,
that.
well, that's a memorable title and no one else has got a book out called that. So excellent. Trina, thank you so much for coming on Flashback and
Yes.
reminiscing and talking about your experience and, of course, your dancing,
Thank
your
you.
singing. Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. Summertime is just a classic that I've done a couple of times myself on karaoke.
Yeah.
Um,
Summertime and the living is easy.
Wow, she still got it. Wow.
Trees are jumping and the cotton so high.
It's
Oh,
wonderful
is that,
meeting
yeah,
you.
beautiful, beautiful. Oh, yeah. Thank you. You also, and thank you for inviting me.
well, thank you, Trina, for coming on Flashback.
Hello everyone, Wes Britton here and once again I'm going to put on my Spy Master cap. Now we've talked about James Bond many times in the past. We've had James Bond himself on, George Lazenby. We've had on legendary Bond guitarist Vic Flick. We've talked with spy novelists and writers like Deborah Lipp. But so far, we haven't had the opportunity to talk to a Bond girl. So let's do that today. Now, the name Max Vesterhalt might not leap immediately to your mind when you think of Bond girls, but she is one. She was in the 1981 film For Your Eyes Only, and her role in that movie might have been a little bit larger had things not, well, gone the way they did. Well, I'm getting a little ahead of the story. Why don't I let Max talk about that? Let's meet Max Vesterhalt Vesterhalt, and hear about For Your Eyes Only and her other projects. Hello, Max. How you doing today?
How are you, Wes? How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, I got to start back with before you got into the James Bond thing. Is it true that your career began as a supermodel?
Yes, I was modeling at the time. I was having a great time.
How did you get involved in being a model?
I had a girlfriend that was modeling, and I was thinking about doing something else, and she said, well, Max, why don't you become a model? And I said, well, models are pretty. I can't do that. This is the absolute truth. I said, I can't do that. She said, believe me, you can do it. And so she introduced me to her agent at the time, who said, fine. And then it was just from there. I didn't look back.
What kinds of products did you model for? Did you appear on TV or magazines?
Well, at that time, I went into doing runway modeling, so that agency just dealt with girls on the runway who those are live models. You're in shows and that kind of thing. So I started off there, and then as I did that, I started getting people who were in the industry said you should go to a print agency, which means photography, doing the advertising. So I did. I went to Ford Models, which is one of the best, and Eileen herself said, oh, yeah. And so so she took me to Ford's. I went over to, they usually send their girls first to Europe to do some work to kind of start getting them known. And so I was sent to Europe and doing work in Europe. Someone did a poster of me advertising Greece. And then that's not getting ahead of myself, but just the way that's how I got into bonding. One of my
Oh, well, that was my very next question. Was it Cubby Broccoli who first saw you and got interested in casting you?
I believe it was, I don't know exactly who saw the poster, but whoever saw the poster contacted my agent and said, we want to, use her for Bond. And so my agent at the time said, well, Max, there's some movie people for a movie. And I said, no, I'm not doing any movies.
You hadn't done any before.
I had done one, and I didn't really like it.
Oh, okay.
So I told him no, I didn't want to do it because generally when you're doing movies, your time slot is different than modeling, you're paid different than modeling. And so I just didn't really want to be tied down for so many hours doing something I didn't really care for. So for 3 months, she kept saying, Max, but they really want you. And I was saying, and I really don't care. And then one day I went into this. She said, I really don't understand. I mean, absolutely. I said, James Bond. I said, what? She said, it's James Bond. I said, well, why did you tell me?
They hadn't mentioned that little critical detail.
It was a very critical detail. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me it was James Bond? She said, I didn't tell you. I said, no. I said, tell him yes, tell him yes. Yes. So that's how it happened.
What happened next?
So after that, what happened next? Oh, I was in Greece at the time, and so they were coming. They were going to do some scenes in Greece. They had, the poster had done was called There's No Place Like Greece, and I was the girl on the poster. So they had one idea of what I look like. Well, you know, models, that's our job, to look what the client wants us to look like. So when they came to Greece and met me personally, they looked at and said, oh no, we will not get our G rating if we put you in the scene that we want you to put you in. Look how young you are. They said, you're too young, we can't use you.
So what did they cast you as? What role did you play in the movie? And this was For Your Eyes Only.
Yes, For Your Eyes Only. What it was young socialist and played baccarat as well as and meets him at the gambling tables. And that was the original part that I was going to play.
That's not the part you ended up doing, is it?
Well, I did end up being, I did. I was at the casino. I was in the casino playing baccarat at the table. They changed the story about a bit because there was something happening during For Your Eyes Only. They changed directors, and I believe it was John Glenn who became the director of that movie. And at the time, he had only, if I remember correctly, he had only done the special effects scenes and the stunt.
He'd been the second unit director for previous Bond movies. That's
right. And so when he was transferred, it was his first whole thing. So if you notice with that film, the girls didn't really get to kiss James.
No, is that because John Glenn wasn't interested in doing romance in his movies? He was more action-oriented?
I think it was the transition, and so he was more comfortable. If you notice, the action was great. But there was, in a Bond film, he only kissed one girl once. There's a kind of films where Bond buffs or James Bond fans would, really know about that. You can really see the lack of romance in that film.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do in that movie. Weren't you supposed to have a larger role?
Yes, and it be because of the change of everything, then everything pretty much was changed. And so I didn't get to interact with him and, and have him drag me away from the casino or meet up with me afterward or however it, had, was supposed to be. No, we just ended up with that featured, what they called a featured spot, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and was glad to do it and hope to work with them again.
Did you get a chance to meet and talk with Roger Moore very much while you were on the set?
I would have married Roger if he wasn't already married. But he was already married, and I did tell him, I would marry you. I would definitely marry you if you weren't already married. And he said, yes, and my Italian wife is right over there.
You got to know him pretty well, I'd think.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and not once did he get on my nerves.
Who else did you get to work with from the film? I guess you, obviously worked with John Glenn.
Yes, and I believe Paul Harris in the same scene with us, because he's a major Shakespearean actor and a character English actor that's in a lot of films in England. And Cassandra Harris.
Yes.
She was the same scene with me also, and she was married to Pierce Brosnan at the time.
Now, one of the things that put you into Bond lore is that you're one of the few African-American Bond girls. Have you gotten a chance to meet any of the others, like Gloria Hendry, and talk about that place in movie history?
Yes, I did. I met Trina Parks actually.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to Gloria Hendry on the phone because actually I had started it once and then there was a hindrance that came in the way, but I still do have the domain name called the Bond Girls of Color.
Oh, yeah?
And this is not just for African Americans. It is for any Bond girl that is ethnic in the, quote unquote. I was sitting, and when I was watching the film that I was in, one time I was looking at it, I said, God, I look like Roger. We don't look any different. People, if they didn't know me, they might think I was English or European. More European, because I do have like an olive complexion. But I was sitting there and I said, gee, it would be, because this is what I really believe had me go into Bond. I remember seeing my first Bond film with Sean Connery in it, and I just wanted to be there. I was like, God, I want to meet him. I want to be with him. I want to be one of the girls. Now, I went to see this film with my sister. She didn't have that feeling. She was like, yeah, he's okay. At the time, I didn't have any thought whether anyone was of color or not of color because everybody was looking great.
Yeah.
But I was especially since times have made us look at this more intently. I said there may be girls out there that wouldn't think that they could get this part like me because they think that they don't look like me. So I just wanted to make that a part of Bond, because when I looked up the Bond girls on the internet, and I was shocked because as you press Bond girls and the little video comes up, not one came of color, not even Grace Jones. And when I did speak to Gloria Hendry and Trina Parks about it, they were very excited. They were very excited. They said because, yes, they had found that too.
Well, after the Bond movie, you shifted directions and you went into music, right? And so recently, I know you've made a few recordings. Are you planning on pursuing music in a full-time way now?
Yes, I'm planning on doing some more recording, hopefully by the end of, in another few weeks, and because I'm setting that up now. And I'm very glad that I have gotten some airplay here in New York. There's one of the jazz programs here on radio have played my music, and I've gotten some nice feedback from that. So yes, I am looking forward to doing some more. And this is one of my, can I say it out? Should I? Some people say don't say it because you jinx yourself.
Aw.
But I really am looking forward to maybe being on the Bond soundtrack one day.
Oh, of course. Everybody would like that.
Yeah, well, being part of that family and being part of the machine, I think it would be nice.
Well, thanks again, Max. I only wish this was television so people could look at you, not just hear you.
Oh, well, I guess there'll be a time for that too, right? You've been great. Thank you so much. Really, thank you so much.
Well, hello, everyone. Wes Britton again. And we really hope you enjoyed today's 4th episode in our annual, well, not annual, but 2023 James Bond Anniversary Avalanche. We got more to come. There's a lot to celebrate in terms of anniversaries this year. This is 2023, the 70th anniversary of Casino Royale, the first appearance of James Bond in print. It's also the first year that I arrived on the planet, so you had to celebrate that come September. I'm just 6 months younger than James Bond. Last year was the 60th anniversary of the first James Bond movie. This year is the 50th anniversary of Live and Let Die that came out in 1973. In 1983, we had the Battle of the Bonds. We had Sean Connery in Never Say Never Again, Roger Moore in Octopussy, and George Lazenby came back for appearance in The Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. So it occurred to me with all these anniversaries, it might be a good moment to pause and take stock of where we're at in the realm of James Bond. First of all, in terms of the future, this coming April, we got 2 things to look forward to. Comic author Philip Kennedy Johnson has got his new comic book series coming out with Dynamite. That's called For King and country, which should tell you that from this point forward, James Bond is not on Her Majesty's Secret Service. He's on His Majesty's Secret Service. Perhaps that little clue is, one way to tell you about future directions in all kinds of ways. Another thing happening in April is Ian Fleming Publications is putting out a whole new revised series of the original Ian Fleming novels. They've made them politically correct. They've gone through the books, especially Live and Let Die, and they've pulled out any word choices that might be considered especially racially offensive. And I don't think they could take out the sexually offensive material, but that's something to look out for. In April, new addition to James Bond books with a lot of editing, especially in Live and Let Die. That seems to be the one that needed the most editing, which leaves us with wondering what happens in the movies. Nobody knows. It is amazing that for 60 years, Eon Productions is able to make great changes, great quick shifts from John to Roger, and then had a major shift into doing the kind of work that Timothy Dalton did in a more down-to-earth James Bond. And then we got back to fantasy again with Pierce Brosnan. And then, you may have forgotten this, but back when Casino Royale came out, everybody noticed that it was heavily influenced by the Bourne Identity. It got down, it got dirty, it got dark. And you can almost say that the Craig Bond was the Bourne Bond. Well, what next? What is going to be inspirational? Well, it occurred to me this week, I was watching a old series called Sandbaggers. And the Sandbaggers was of all these British agents of SIS back in the 70s. Very, very realistic. But the main difference I noticed between it and Bond was every time there's a Bond story, he goes in to see M. M gives him a message, sends him on his way. And that's how things start. But in the Sandbaggers, you have all of this discussion and policy and operations and debates as to whether we should do this or whether we should endanger the lives of our agents and all these things. Well, maybe if they need a new direction in the movies, consider expanding the cast, consider expanding the ensemble. Yeah, we got M and Moneypenny and Q. But maybe if you need a new direction, a new way to go, well, ensemble casts are really big anyway. But don't just have a lone vigilante out there, a lone agent out there. Have him as part of a team, part of a squad. Just an idea, just a thought. Anyway, that's possible for the future. Doubtful, but possible. Have a little bit about the present. And, well, be a whole lot about the past this year on the James Bond 70th Anniversary Avalanche right here on Flashback.